She vanished on a Monday. Not a stormy night, not during a blackout, not even in some remote, fog-drenched wilderness. She vanished in broad daylight on a crowded university campus with cameras everywhere, students on the lawns, and a coffee still warm on the bench where she had been sitting just minutes earlier. Her name was Evelyn Carter, 21, final-year psychology major at Westbridge University, located in the heart of a pristine New England town where crime rates were low, smiles were polite, and police officers attended PDA meetings. The kind of town that sold postcards of its cobbled streets and autumn trees, where everyone trusted the system because the system had a friendly face. But when Evelyn disappeared, the mask slipped. Her roommate reported her missing 6 hours later when she didn't return from her library shift. A responsible, punctual student who hadn't missed a day in 4 years. By midnight, her parents had driven in from 2 states away, panicked and shaking. By morning, flyers with her photo were taped to every lamppost within a 2-mile radius. And by the 3rd day, something deeply unsettling happened. The police told the family to stop panicking, suggested that Evelyn was probably just overwhelmed, and unofficially labeled her a voluntary runaway. The press briefing that followed was lukewarm, short, and rehearsed. No foul play suspected at this time. That phrase would be burned into her mother's memory. No foul play suspected. Not even when Evelyn's ID, phone, and backpack were found in a dumpster behind the faculty parking lot. Not even when the CCTV footage from the campus gate mysteriously went missing between 3:42 and 4:06 p.m., the exact window of her disappearance. Not even when a faculty assistant came forward to say he had seen a man in a university security uniform arguing with Evelyn near the west staircase, just hours before she vanished. The man was never identified. The university denied hiring any new security staff that month. The lead detective on the case, Officer Bradley Moore, told reporters, "Young people sometimes make sudden choices. Let's not jump to conclusions." But what they didn't tell the public was that Evelyn had filed a formal complaint against a police officer 2 weeks prior, one that accused him of harassment, intimidation, and threatening behavior. That report never surfaced. Internal records showed no such document existed, but Evelyn had told her best friend about it, had even printed a hard copy, which she sealed in an envelope and mailed to her cousin in Vermont, saying, "If something happens to me, give this to the media." That envelope never reached its destination. According to postal tracking, it was intercepted at a sorting center by an individual using a federal ID. When her cousin inquired, the case was marked lost in transit. Evelyn's disappearance wasn't just a mystery, it was a cover-up in motion, the kind that's wrapped in procedures, boxed in bureaucracy, and stapled shut by people who smile on camera and lie through their teeth behind closed doors. And the more her parents pushed for answers, the more the town seemed to turn against them. Their house was vandalized twice, first with the words, "Let it go," spray painted on the garage, and then again when their car tires were slashed in the hospital parking lot. The investigation wasn't just slow, it was being actively smothered. Evidence misplaced, witnesses ignored. One by one, the threads unraveled into dust, until a journalist named Amelia Vance arrived in town. A former investigative reporter turned independent documentarian, known for exposing police corruption in 3 major cities. She wasn't there to write a fluff piece. She was there because someone anonymously had sent her a folder. A thick, heavy, yellow folder that contained photos never released to the public. Evelyn in the library at 3:41 p.m., Evelyn talking to someone in a shadowed hallway at 3:51 p.m., and Evelyn's backpack, not in the dumpster, but sitting neatly beside a patrol car, time-stamped 4:02 p.m. The patrol car's license plate had been blacked out in the image, but a faint reflection in the window gave it away. The badge number on the dashboard read number 1189. That number belonged to Officer Bradley Moore, the same man who declared her a runaway, the same man who closed her file just 14 days after opening it. That one image, the badge number on the dashboard, was enough to flip the entire narrative, at least for Amelia. She wasn't just chasing a missing girl's story anymore. She was walking straight into a system designed to swallow its own rot. She tried to confront Officer Moore in person, outside the precinct. He smiled when he saw her camera, leaned close and said, "You're not the first to poke around here, but you'll leave like the rest." His voice was steady, his eyes unreadable. 2 days later, Amelia's rental car was broken into and all her audio gear was stolen, except, strangely, her wallet and laptop were untouched. A warning, but she had already uploaded the photo to a secure cloud drive. She wasn't new to this game. She began digging deeper into Officer Moore's background and found troubling patterns. In 2010, he had been part of a use of force investigation involving a homeless teenager who was later found dead behind a train station. In 2013, he was linked to a string of harassment complaints by female students on traffic stops, all of which were informally resolved. And in 2016, a 23-year-old woman named Cassidy Locke vanished 2 blocks from the station while walking home from a late shift at the same library where Evelyn worked. Her case declared a suicide. No body ever found. Amelia cross-referenced everything, laid out timelines, maps, badge numbers, and the pattern became horrifyingly clear. For women in 10 years, all between ages 19 to 24, all last seen within a 3-block radius, all reported as either runaways, suicides, or inconclusive. The link? Each case was overseen and quietly closed by Officer Moore or his immediate superior, Chief Edmund Pratt, a man with a 30-year spotless record and a town square named in his honor. But the deeper Amelia pushed, the more she felt the noose tighten. Her emails were hacked. One of her interviewees, a former police clerk, backed out after receiving a disciplinary warning from a job she had quit 3 years ago. Her footage from a late-night interview with Evelyn's former psychology professor was mysteriously corrupted, replaced with static and a flickering image of a black screen labeled "Access Revoked." She wasn't being watched. She was being erased in real time. Yet, despite all of it, she pressed on. She contacted Evelyn's best friend, Nora Hale, who had moved to Oregon and refused to speak to anyone about the case until Amelia showed her the badge photo. Nora broke down. Through tears, she revealed that Evelyn had once confided in her that someone, she never said who, had been following her, watching her off campus, leaving notes on her car windshield like, "Nice dress today," and "You shouldn't walk alone." She had gone to the police twice. The first time, they told her to stay calm and avoid dark places. The second time, they told her there was no record of any patrols matching that description. Evelyn stopped trying, and then she vanished. Amelia took that testimony and went public. She released a 25-minute documentary segment on her YouTube channel titled Asterisk, The Girl Who Warned Us Before She Disappeared. Asterisk, within 72 hours, it hit over 1.8 million views. National reporters reached out, but so did anonymous threats. Her phone rang one night at 1:11 a.m. A mechanical voice said only one thing: "You found the crack. Step through and you won't come back." But Amelia didn't stop, because now it wasn't just about Evelyn. It was about every woman who was ignored, every family who was gaslit, and every system that buried its failures beneath polished uniforms and carefully worded press releases. She began compiling witness testimony from across the town. A janitor who had once seen Officer Moore lingering around the women's dorms late at night. A cafeteria worker who remembered Evelyn showing signs of fear every time a squad car pulled into the lot, and even an ex-cadet who had been dismissed from the academy after questioning Moore's disciplinary methods. One common phrase came up again and again: "He's protected." Nobody could explain exactly what that meant, whether it was official policy, old favors, or something darker, but the fear in their voices was real. Then Amelia found something she wasn't meant to find. A hidden line item in the precinct's annual budget listed under Outreach and Infrastructure, $28,000 paid out as a discretionary fund, with the memo, Community Incident Containment. That fund had been quietly growing over the past 10 years. She followed the money. It led her to a private investigator named Jack Creeley, whose name was attached to several settlements filed by the city to avoid litigation, each tied to harassment, assault, or suspicious deaths involving city employees. Creeley denied involvement at first, but when Amelia showed him the badge photo, his face turned pale. "You don't understand," he whispered. "It's not just Moore. It's not even just this town. It's the whole damn network. They've been doing this for decades." He mentioned a term, the chain, supposedly a silent pact between law enforcement heads across multiple counties to protect internal threats, rogue officers, abusers, those who kept things quiet in exchange for immunity and silence. There were names on a list passed between departments, people who handled problems like Evelyn. Creeley offered one more thing before disappearing: a flash drive. Inside it were old case files, dozens, most labeled closed, no follow-up. Some had photos of victims with bruises. Some had written complaints that matched Evelyn's handwriting. And one, dated November 1998, contained a short video clip from inside the Westbridge police station archive room. The camera was shaky, the lighting bad, but clear enough to show a man in uniform opening a cabinet, pulling Evelyn's case file, and placing it in a black duffel bag. Timestamp: for 17 a.m. on the same day, the file was officially marked lost due to system corruption. The man was Moore, but he wasn't alone. Another man stood beside him, gray-haired, tall, wearing a ring with the town's seal on his pinky. Chief Edmund Pratt. Amelia froze. The police chief had been in the room. He had watched the file be taken. He was part of it. And yet, when she tried to contact his office for comment, she was told he was on indefinite leave for health reasons. No one had seen him in days. His house was locked. The phone disconnected. She reached out to the mayor's office, no answer. And then her phone vibrated. A text from an unknown number: "You're not chasing a missing person anymore. You're chasing ghosts in uniform." Amelia sat in her motel room, blinds drawn, heart racing as she replayed the footage again and again, forcing herself to accept what she already feared. Evelyn hadn't just been ignored. She'd been selected, targeted, and then erased by a structure built to protect its own rot. But the system had underestimated the internet. Amelia compiled everything, photos, testimonies, documents, the flash drive, and began constructing a multi-part exposé titled The Uniform Veil. Before releasing it, she shared encrypted copies with trusted journalists and uploaded backups to offshore servers. Still, just days before the launch, strange things happened. Her car alarm triggered 3 times in one night. The motel manager received an anonymous call requesting her room key for maintenance. Her phone suddenly deactivated, SIM unreadable. But what truly sent her over the edge was a package slipped under her door. No name, no return address. Inside it was a black and white photo. Evelyn, bound and gagged, in what looked like a storage room, her eyes wide with terror. Scribbled across the bottom, "Your deadline is real." There was a shadow in the image. A boot. Police issued. Amelia vomited. She had never seen Evelyn alive until now, which meant she had survived past the day she vanished, which meant someone had held her, possibly tortured her, and the department knew. She reached out to an FBI contact from an old case. Within hours, 2 agents arrived and took her statements, but their questions felt rehearsed, their eyes too calm. When they left, she checked the license plate. Not FBI registered. She was being played. Again, that night, she fled, changed hotels, went offline, but not before publishing part 1 of her series. It went viral in under an hour. Hashtags trended. Protests began outside the precinct. Anonymous users began leaking internal documents. And then, 1 day later, Chief Edmund Pratt was found dead in his home. Gunshot wound to the head. Ruled a suicide. No gunshot residue on his hand. The media ate it up. Case closed. But Amelia knew better. 2 days after his death, she received a voicemail from a scrambled number. A voice, old, raspy, unmistakably male, said, "You don't understand the game you just started." Evelyn was the surface. There are dozens more. Some wore uniforms, some wore robes, and some still watch. Click. End of message. The final twist. Evelyn's body was never found. No remains. No trace. But weeks later, someone tagged Amelia in a photo taken in a train station in Montreal. In the background, blurry but striking, a girl who looked exactly like Evelyn. Different haircut, different name on the badge, but same eyes, same scar on the wrist Nora had once mentioned. Was it her? Had she escaped? Was she sent to hide? Or was it a plant designed to confuse? Amelia didn't know. But what she did know was this. Evelyn Carter was not just a victim of a broken system. She was the match, and the whole institution was about to burn. She hadn't slept in 31 hours when the message arrived. No sender, no subject, just a blank email with a single attachment. A photograph taken in the dark, blurry but unmistakable. The same basement where Evelyn's belongings were once found, except this time, a hand was visible in the corner of the frame. Pale, still, wearing a bracelet Amelia had seen once before. In a photo Evelyn's mother kept in her purse. Amelia's throat dried instantly. She knew what this meant. Evelyn was never meant to disappear quietly. She was meant to vanish loudly and still be silenced. And if this photo was new, it meant someone still had access to the evidence, or worse, to Evelyn. But how? The cabin had been sealed, the trunk seized, and yet here it was, a new image, sent to her alone, like a ghost whispering through the screen. "You missed something." She closed the laptop slowly and sat in the dark, heart hammering like a war drum. This wasn't journalism anymore. This was survival. And yet, something inside her whispered, "Go back." She returned to Fair Hollow that night, not through the main road, but through the forest path she had once sworn never to tread again. The trees seemed to lean inward this time, as if they too were watching, listening. At the edge of the woods stood the cabin, boarded, lifeless, but when she stepped closer, she saw it. The boards had been removed and then reattached. Fresh nails. Someone had gone in after the raid. She didn't hesitate. Her flashlight flickered as she stepped inside, past the splintered door, into the smell of old blood and rotting wood. But something was different now. A draft, a whisper, and then, beneath the floorboards, her foot hit something hollow. She dropped to her knees, pried open the boards, and there it was, a second trunk. This one smaller, older, but not empty. Inside, dozens of cassette tapes, each labeled by date and a strange code, Sichen/98. Sichen/02, Sichen/13. She took 3 and fled. Back in her motel, she found an old tape player, loaded the first cassette and pressed play. Static. Then a voice. A man's voice. Calm. Confident. "This is subject number 4. She was brought in tonight. Refused sedation. Already resisting. Commendable." Amelia dropped the player. That voice. It wasn't Moore. It wasn't Pratt. It was someone else. Older. Colder. And then came a second voice, weaker, crying. "A girl. Please. I didn't do anything." The tape clicked off. Amelia sat frozen. listen. These weren't just kidnappings. These were experiments, recordings, catalogs, like someone had been collecting lives and labeling them like museum artifacts. But why? Who was behind it? And then she remembered something Jack Creeley had said before vanishing. You think it ends with cops? Sweetheart, cops are just the front desk. You're not even in the building yet. Amelia pulled out the second tape, trembling. Pressed play. The same voice again. Subject 6 attempted escape today. Sustained damage to wrist. She still believes someone is looking for her. She is wrong. Amelia felt sick. Was it Evelyn? Was she subject 6? And what did CHN stand for? Chain? Chambers? Children? She didn't know, but something deeper, older, uglier was behind all this. Not just men with badges. Men with permission, with funding, with goals. She stayed up all night transcribing, cross-referencing tape dates with missing person reports. Pattern emerged. Every tape aligned with a local disappearance, not just in Fairhollow, but in nearby towns. Each one closed as a runaway, each one forgotten. Until now, by dawn, Amelia had matched 7 tapes to 7 missing girls, all between the ages of 18 and 24, all reported within the last 15 years, and all from small towns connected by one thing: a now-defunct regional law enforcement training program called Chain Protocol Initiative, shut down quietly in 2014 due to budget concerns, or so the official memo claimed. But she found something strange. The facility listed on the memo, a warehouse in Oak Ridge County, didn't show up on any GPS system, satellite image, or state registry. Simply didn't exist. But it had to. One of the tapes mentioned the Oak Ridge floor and subject movement between zones. So she rented a car, packed 3 recorders, and drove for hours until she found it. A dead zone on the map where cell service vanished, the trees grew thicker, and the road turned from asphalt to gravel. At the edge of the forest, half swallowed by vines and thyme, stood a rusted gate with no name, no warnings, just a single symbol, a broken chain, spray-painted in black. Her breath caught. This was it. Inside, the warehouse was empty, but not abandoned. The walls were lined with empty cages. Actual cages, some human-sized, some smaller. On a rusted control panel, she found tape residue where labels had once been. One read S6 Defiant, another S12 Terminated. She took photos of everything, but the deeper she went, the more it felt like the building was breathing. Not haunted, alive. It wasn't just the cages or the 4 racks or the soundproofing foam on the walls. It was the drawings, dozens of them, carved into the concrete with fingernails, keys, or broken glass. Tally marks, names, words like help and I saw you. She reached a back room with a steel door half torn from its hinges. Inside, chains hung from the ceiling, but what caught her eye was the corner. A small mattress, and beside it, a child's drawing pinned to the wall. It was crude, but clear. A girl in a cage, a man in uniform, and above it all, the words in shaky handwriting. He says no one is looking for me. Amelia felt her knees give. This wasn't just a detention site. It was a hunting ground, a testing floor. And worst of all, someone had brought children here. She fled with everything she had. The photos, the tape recorder, her voice now hoarse from breathing through a scarf to mask the smell of rot. That night, she uploaded her findings to the same secure cloud, sent encrypted links to 3 trusted contacts, and wrote a 4,000-word expose draft she never published. Why? Because before she could press send, her laptop froze. A warning flashed, system error, trace initiated. Then her phone rang. No caller ID, just a voice, distorted and heavy. You found the floor. Good. Now see who funded it. Then silence. Amelia had crossed a line. The deeper truth wasn't just that girls were taken. It was that someone paid for it. Someone documented it. And someone believed this was all justified. She left town that night, but before she did, she checked one more thing, the public grant records. Between 2007 and 2014, one shell company received over $4.2 million in urban policing research funding. The company's name? Halberd Solutions, owned by a private entity. And when she traced that entity's board members, one name stood out: retired Chief Bernard Halberd, Evelyn Carter's fiancé's father. The moment Amelia saw the name Halberd, her breath stopped. She remembered Evelyn mentioning him once in an old class interview. Ben's father doesn't like me much. He thinks I ask too many questions. Back then, it sounded like a harmless joke. Now it echoed like a warning never taken seriously. Bernard Halberd wasn't just a retired chief. He had been the architect behind several experimental security zones during his tenure, pilot programs designed to test urban behavioral responses to authority. But these weren't just field exercises. Amelia found an archive transcript from a closed Senate hearing where Halberd described population sorting and stress conditioning on select non-vocal individuals. The language was clinical, dehumanizing, and now deeply incriminating. Worse still, Amelia traced one of the facility's procurement contracts to a name she had seen only once before, in the corner of a missing page from Evelyn's psychological intake form. Project Ashcroft, level 4 clearance required. That missing form had been redacted in the original file. She hadn't thought much of it until now. Project Ashcroft was registered to a federal contractor that no longer existed. Its tax records had been absorbed into Homeland Security during post-9/11 restructuring, meaning whatever happened to Evelyn was part of something protected by national defense laws, something immune to public oversight. Amelia's head spun. She had walked into a war, and she was alone. She needed proof, not theories, not whispers, concrete proof. So she did the unthinkable. She contacted Ben Carter, Evelyn's former fiancé. He hadn't spoken publicly since her disappearance, hadn't given interviews, hadn't attended her last vigil. Most people assumed he was grieving. Others believed he had moved on. But when Amelia called him, his voice didn't tremble. It sounded prepared, like he'd been waiting for her. "Come alone," he said, "and don't bring a phone." They met in a church parking lot outside Dover. 1 a.m., freezing air, no lights. He sat in her car, looked straight ahead, and said, "You're not supposed to be this close. My father said if anyone gets within 2 layers, protocol goes active." Amelia didn't blink. "What's protocol?" Ben inhaled sharply. "Ghost sweep. First they monitor you, then they erase your data, then they offer you a deal. If you refuse, you disappear too." Amelia's fingers clenched the wheel. Was Evelyn part of this? He turned slowly. She wasn't supposed to find out, but she was brilliant, curious, dangerous. She figured it out before I did. And once she knew what my father was part of, she started collecting notes, tapes, names. He said she had to be neutralized, not killed, studied, broken, reformatted. Amelia felt the blood drain from her face. Is she still alive? Ben didn't answer right away. Then he pulled something from his coat, a flash drive. "She smuggled this out in a hairbrush when they moved her. I intercepted it before it was destroyed." Amelia took it, hands shaking. "Why give it to me now?" He looked at her, tired. "Because the chain doesn't end with her. There are more, and someone's activating it again. My father's dead, but others have taken his place." Before she could ask more, he stepped out of the car, vanished into the night. She drove straight to her motel, plugged the flash drive into her offline laptop, and opened the only file on it, a video. The image flickered, grainy, but then resolved into a room, sterile and white. A girl sat in the center, strapped to a chair, eyes blank, lips moving. Evelyn. But she wasn't screaming. She was reciting numbers, over and over. 8-4-1-2-9. 8-4-1-2-9. Then a voice off camera asked, "Who is Amelia Vance?" Evelyn stopped, looked straight into the camera, and smiled. That smile, calm, deliberate, defiant, burned into Amelia's mind like a brand, because it wasn't the smile of a broken victim, or of someone brainwashed beyond recognition. It was the smile of someone who had outsmarted her captors and left behind a message only one person would understand. The numbers 8-4-1-2-9 weren't random. Amelia rearranged them instinctively, tried date formats, code keys, phone prefixes, nothing, until she remembered Evelyn's thesis project, advanced symbolic cryptography, and how emotional triggers were used to hide ciphers in plain sight. 84129 wasn't just a number. It was a zip code. Salt Lake City, Utah. Amelia's heart dropped. One of the last active labs under Project Ashcroft's legacy was quietly tucked beneath an academic research facility in Salt Lake, a place disguised as a neuroscience institute. She confirmed it by cross-referencing personnel records. A woman named Dr. Mira Goldstein, once reported as part of Level 4 conditioning development, had published papers on voluntary memory suppression and identity fracturing. Her research stopped suddenly in 2013. No death records, no retirement, just gone. Until last year, when she resurfaced under a different name, tied to Halberd's offshoot nonprofit, now funding youth rehabilitation. Evelyn wasn't just imprisoned. She was being transformed, intellectually dissected. Amelia booked a flight that same night, traveling with nothing but a camera, the flash drive, and a disposable phone. When she reached the institute, it appeared ordinary from the outside: glass walls, steel architecture, a calm university campus on one side. But inside, something was off. Too quiet, too sterile. She posed as a documentary filmmaker researching PTSD therapy and was escorted through the ground floor. On the wall was a framed quote, "To reshape the world, begin with the mind." The deeper she went, the heavier the air felt. She noticed the cameras, angled slightly downward, following her with a fraction of a second delay. She reached a restricted hallway and claimed she needed restroom access. Instead, she ducked into a maintenance stairwell, descended 2 floors, and found herself in a dim corridor lined with numbered rooms. She heard humming from one of them, not mechanical, human. She crept closer. Room 217. She leaned in. The voice was faint, like someone singing a lullaby through gritted teeth. Then a whisper, "I know you're there." Amelia's chest seized. She opened the door. The room was empty, except for a single monitor looping a live feed of a dark chamber. On the screen, Evelyn, sitting cross-legged on the floor, writing something on the wall with chalk. Amelia stepped back, trembling, but before she could run, a door behind her clicked. 3 men in plain clothes entered. No badges, no insignia, just empty stares. "You've seen enough," one of them said. She was escorted out, politely but firmly. Her camera was taken, but not her flash drive. It was still hidden in the lining of her boot. Back in her motel, shaken but intact, she played the video again. This time, she noticed something new. Evelyn's chalk drawing. It wasn't random. It was a map, not just of the facility, but of multiple sites, labeled with numbers, dates, and something worse, names. Names of other missing girls. Amelia understood now. Evelyn wasn't just leaving a breadcrumb trail. She was documenting the entire operation from the inside. And if that were true, then Evelyn Carter, the girl who vanished in 1998, wasn't just a victim anymore. She was the whistleblower they'd never expected. The one they couldn't silence. The one who had turned her prison into a message board. But as Amelia began plotting out the names and dates, her phone buzzed. No number, just one message. "You have 48 hours to forget what you've seen, or you'll join her underground." The screen went black, but Amelia didn't blink, because now she had what no one else did: the map, the voice, and the girl who wouldn't stop whispering through walls the system built to hide her.